right. All right, everybody, welcome. Would anyone like to review the, approve the minutes? If there's any questions on them, feel free, but anyone want to move to approve November 8 minutes?
I'll move to approve them.
I'll second.
Thank you very much.
All right. You're welcome.
All right. That was April, right? Yeah. All right. So, well, we've got our silver, and now we're just saying, okay, now what's next, right? I mean, that's kind of where we're at. So we really need to meet with the department heads. I think that's kind of important. Without doing that, we're just like spinning our wheels.
Right.
Yep.
And so I don't know if anybody wants to rattle some cages, if it's too close to the holidays, or if we should rattle cages now and get together after the holidays, whatever it is, before you know it, we get into budget season, and then, we're back to the same thing. So we need to find our window.
I definitely think we should get something out now. I know when we spoke at the town council, Vicky did want to meet with us as well. Because if there's anything that we're going to do along with departments, it may or may not be a budget item.
I think we should just meet with Vicky, honestly, at this point and see where she is with which department she is comfortable with us meeting with. And which departments we should meet with for each of the items maybe we think are important, or if she wants somebody in her team or our team to start working on a sustainable plan, maybe. It's kind of like the chicken or the egg, right?
Yeah.
Well, again, another thought that Vicky might have is if there should be someone in addition to Rob who could be our, town person.
Good point.
He's so busy, he doesn't really make the meetings because he's just in the weeds busy. So it would be good to have someone who can actually participate on a regular basis. And I don't know if anybody's not busy. I mean, I think everybody's just completely slammed, but I think we need someone who's on the inside.
Yeah, I mean, we almost didn't get silver because we didn't even know what they were doing with that whole thing, right? I mean, there was just a total breakdown in communication or total lack of it. Yeah, so I think, it makes sense to meet. I think I agree, Mari. It makes sense to meet with Vicky and try to sort some of this stuff out from the top. So, does anybody?
Well, I think also maybe we have like a priority list if we don't already. I think that we've been through a couple of different iterations of priority lists, so that we can say to whomever we're meeting with, these are the 10 things we want to accomplish in the next 2 years or whatever it is.
Right. So we've got, it's subject to change a little bit because, maybe the town's got a big glass recycling project that we can get involved with and whatever. So we'll bring our list of stuff that we feel is important.
Right.
But that's, it's good.
I'll reach out to Vicky, but I could check with Mary if she would prefer to. She seems to usually be our point of contact with Vicky, but I'll volunteer to check with her and see.
All right, you want to talk to Mary and then see who wants to, if maybe Mary or whoever will reach out to Vicky.
Sorry for the noise. I'm on my way inside the house now.
All right. So, well, Mary is coming. She'll just be in here later, right?
Yeah.
All right.
So,
we'll circle back to that.
On Monday, wait a minute, today's Monday. So it was last Monday, I presented the natural resource inventory to Public Works. And in order to get that Zoom meeting, I just reached out to George and Tatiana set up the meeting. So it was like 9 a.m. on Monday morning, last Monday. And I went over our slides with them for the natural resource inventory, and a couple of the slides for action steps were things that, you know, sustainable Trumbull and conservation could do together to help them, achieve some of these goals that were in the natural resource inventory. So it seemed to go pretty well. They gave us an hour. So
and that was, who did you meet with exactly? Was it Bill? And
it was George, Tatiana, two other town engineers, and then who else was on there?
Was Bill Murray?
Bill wasn't, because he was in another meeting.
Okay.
But I had the 3 town engineers, and who else was on there? I can't remember now. But it was Dimitri was not, because he'd seen it a couple of times through Parks and Rec. So we just focused really on the folks in Public Works. So in terms of things like buffers or even recycling and all those things, that would be that department, and we could ask for people to join. But they were very open to having that first thing Monday morning presentation. So, at least from that department, we can try that again.
Yeah, I would expect there's lots of the initiatives that we're interested in. A lot of them are related to Public Works.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Was there specific items that you talked about? Glass, you mentioned glass, but was there other stuff in your meeting that you talked about?
Yes, there was. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up. I made so many iterations of it. It was I didn't have glass in there. I didn't have recycling in there. It was very strictly
NRI stuff.
Yeah, invasive plant removal, some river cleanups, stormwater management things, trailblazing in the parks. Here, I can, if you want, I could share my screen. I could show you. See if I can pull it up and show you. All right. Yeah. So this was Department of Public Works. I don't know if this was like the full version. I just did an overview. The audience is for the NRI. So the 2 themes for it were open space and trees, and then wetland and water management. So creating hiking trails was one of the recommendations from the NRI. So I showed them the maps of all the potential hiking trails, trailblazing and footbridges, green landscaping at town parks, which is something we could, all work on together. Buffers, streamside buffers, possible demonstration sites. These would be great planting demonstration sites for, especially here at like Mary Bill property, which is just nothing. That would be a great pollinator pathway demonstration site. And I went over erosion with them. This was their Public Works brochure, removing invasives, pollinator pathways. Yeah, that's it. That wasn't the whole thing, but I went into other opportunities, like for example, Katz's Pond. That's if they get funding for it, that's a good upcoming town project that we can work together on, which is restoring the whole buffer around Katz's Pond. And making that a demonstration project for cleaning water and runoff and all that stuff. So, it was just an opportunity for us to maybe pick 2 or 3 things that conservation could work on with Public Works, but you know, it was just very intuitive that most of those things would be on our sustainable CT list
Mhm.
going forward. So I had a slide, which I can't find now, that highlighted sustainable CT as a partner on a couple of these things.
How would you envision sustainable CT partnering specifically, because you've got the Conservation Commission already on there and represented well by you and Pam already. Is there anything else that we would do, anything specific that we would do as Sustainable Trumbull that you would see?
With Public Works, I would definitely think anything regarding recycling or advancing that would definitely be under, you know, George and his crew. So that's something we could work on together. I mean, conservation could help also. What else was there?
I also see us as a potential funding source. If they do like some crowdfunding for some of these places. I don't know where Katz's Pond is, so sorry.
Yeah. No, that's exactly
but-
right. Yeah. The funding sources, that was actually one of the slides, which I can't freaking find. But yeah, definitely working on funding together. There's a couple of grants that are open now until like February 2nd or 3rd. There's a grant that we could all work on together. It was focusing on collaboration. It's the Long Island Sound Futures Fund. And it's a series of grants sizes focusing on capacity building, collaboration, doing pilots, small projects. So there's $5,000 to $15,000 for this small projects, which is like water quality or stormwater management. If we had a particular area like the Bill property. And then the other grant is same one, but 15,000 to 200,000. And it has to prove that whatever we're doing is regionally important, not just to our town. So that's something we, you know, it has to be very intentional and specific. And, you know, I think that's something that we could work on with, we could get the guys at MetroCog, the Council of Government based in Bridgeport. They're pretty good at helping to get grants. So if we found something, but, you know, we'd have to work with, it would have to have a regional impact. So we'd have to really think about that.
Sorry,
Okay.
I was going to ask if there's an opportunity or a vehicle through which I can make my donation that I'm desperate to give you.
Yeah.
But it can't go through the town. It has to go through, you know, like a third party kind of thing, or second party, whatever it is. The original one may not work, but you know, a more local 501c3 could work, and I can just stipulate where, you know, I'd like it to go.
So I have the cards. So speaking to Janet's point, I have a card. I don't know if this will work out. I ended up purchasing a wreath from the Nichols Association Gardens Club, and they're interested in partnering with us on something in the near future. And they're going to start planning out their event shortly for next year. I don't know if doing something with them, maybe in the founder's plot. I don't know if they're a 501c3. But that might be a way that we could come together with another group and do something that we were kind of like looking to do, but don't have funding to do.
Okay.
It would be great to enlist them. If we got Spot at the community garden for a founder's plots, it would be great to enlist the help of a garden club in town. But I think it was the beginning of the year when Mel and I were talking to one of the Trumbull moms, and they said, oh, well, the Long Hill Garden Club really doesn't want to be involved. Like they say they want to do stuff and then nobody really does it. So it'd be great to have the help of Nichols. I know that Mel did her presentation there. They seemed very interested about Pollinator Pathway.
Mhm.
So maybe it's an opportunity to just kind of restart that conversation.
Okay, I will try to look for their card because I have it somewhere. And then reach back out to both you, Mel and Pam on that, and Janet.
It's Gary, right?
Huh?
The guy who is the president now, his name is Gary, I think.
He seemed really nice. I met him in the middle of the Jingle Bell 5K as my family was running and I went to buy a wreath. Not gonna lie, didn't run. But so Mel, just going off of what you were saying though, prior to my diversion, Kevin and I ended up running into Dimitri at the end of our town council meeting. And I didn't want this idea to be forgotten. So I know I shouldn't say that. I know we're kind of interested in doing a tree replacement program. He ended up talking to us a little bit in the parking lot and was real semi-adamant about before we did a tree replacement program, we need a tree inventory in Trumbull. Personally, the town should probably pay for a tree inventory, but if there's a grant out there that we could help the town find to help do the tree inventory, that would be great. Not in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe.
that request by him, I had a long talk with him about that, and I said, there's some resistance because we just finished a $10,000 natural resource inventory, and to do another inventory, even though we'd hire, somebody to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say that we couldn't do it. That there was a grant that was due early December for that, and I was just I decided against doing it because I felt it was just another thing that was going to be thrown at us to do and get money for, and then implementation would be difficult. So I think that there are enough places in like Trumbull Center, which is virtually devoid of trees now, to plant new trees that will be, will manage the stormwater in Trumbull Center. So I don't think we need a new survey, a tree survey, in order to replace trees that have been taken down, my personal opinion. But the challenge was, and because I asked Dimitri if there could be funding that could be shifted away from the tree removal program to the tree replacement program. And he said that probably could not be done because they don't seem to even have enough money for the tree removal program, even though it's, $100,000 or whatever it is, 170,000 a year. That's not enough to take down all the trees that need to be taken down. In addition to United Illuminating taking down trees, and so everybody's putting money into taking down trees, and there doesn't seem to be that much of an appetite to replace them. So it might be something that we might have to get money on our own for. I don't know how we would do that. Similar to Fairfield's plan, probably, where we'd have to form a committee, or our committee would do it. But we couldn't, and we'd have to hire a contractor to put them in without having Public Works put them in. But it's just, I don't know if you noticed that, but in Trumbull Center, the 3 nice trees that were there, which were by Starbucks, the old Starbucks, are all gone. They took them down. So in preparation for, I guess, the construction, hopefully that will happen there, but it just kind of made me laugh that there's only trees in Trumbull Center with those 3 or 4 red maples, and they're gone. And then people would sit underneath them. It was the only shade in Trumbull Center, and they've been taken down. And that was the landlord who took them down. So, but it's just it's kind of frustrating. That's just, I'll get off my soapbox now, but yeah, so in terms of a tree inventory, I'm not, I don't know. The jury's still out on that.
I would think that would take just a ton of work, for one thing. I mean, I could see doing it for a local, like you said, let's, concentrate on Trumbull Center, then you can do a quick tree inventory in Trumbull Center and then take it from there, right? If you wanted to actually do some tree replacement.
Yeah, I would think so. But a whole town tree inventory would require a grant. It would require, GIS, beyond GIS, actually, they, to look at the health of the canopy in all of our parks and see where, we're losing trees, and I don't know. I don't know that that's, would be a nice thing to do, but I'm kind of inventoried out, right?
Hey, Mel, do you know, did Fairfield do a tree inventory before they started their tree replacement plan?
If I recall, I think that they may have done a group of volunteers worked on their street trees. But I could confirm that with Mary Hogue. That's a good question, though.
But, and they have a full-time tree warden, correct?
Yes.
Yes, they do. At least part-time, right?
We have a part-time tree warden, but honestly, I think he's really part-time. I don't know. I don't know if the plan is to, I know nobody wants to spend any more money, but it seems like it would be great to have someone full-time who was a pro tree guy or woman.
Yes. Yes, it would. So, yeah, I mean, I where to put the tree replacement plan? I would definitely love to focus on that for 2022, at least from my commission's perspective. So we haven't actually worked on our priorities yet for 2022, but it would certainly make sense if we could Sustainable CT and Conservation Commission kind of were able to dovetail our priorities, then we could work together on stuff. Because we're finished with our natural resource inventory. We just have to push for these things to be implemented now.
Well, let's go over some of our other priorities and just see where we're coming down in terms of just everything. Because we've got, I forget who mentioned at the meeting at the town council, somebody mentioned the town's having a sustainability plan, or the term has been thrown around here and there. I don't know if it was Vicky or somebody said to, who was that? Somebody other than us, I mean.
Oh, Rena, maybe? I spoke with Rena about it.
Rena.
She was highly in favor of having a more concise plan for the town. I don't know how willing she was to participate in crafting that, but she definitely was. Mel, I relayed the message that she was interested in talking to us about the tree replacement grant. She had that on her desk and she needed help with that, she said.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so we already missed the deadline on one of them.
Like February or something, right? The next one?
Actually that was, it was early December, but this new one, we have until February 2nd or 3rd. Yeah. And that's the one with the, I don't know what the maximum we could do on that. Yeah, so we'll just have to find another funding source, $5,000 to $15,000. So is the small grant. All right, so I'll put Rena's name there and we can just keep, as things come through, we can get her.
What was it, Rena, what was that project that Rena was interested in? Specifically, she was talking about the sustainability plan and also trees.
A grant for the tree replacement.
Grant for tree replacement, okay. Yeah, other than that, I thought somebody else, maybe it was Rena too, talking about the sustainability plan. So when we talk to Vicky and whoever it's going to be, the question is going to come up, well, who's going to actually do the sustainability plan? It's not something you throw together terribly easily and requires everybody's input from various town departments, and you could get the students involved if you wanted to. But then again, there's got to be some kind of commitment from the public school people, right? The administration and the public school to say, okay, yeah, we'll let kids do a project for some credit of some kind. So other than that, I don't see the kids really, I mean, we've already tried a few times, right? Murray and April saying, okay, you could do a sustainability plan. You could sort of take your piece and build a sustainability plan, but without formal infrastructure, I don't think that's gonna really happen. So I guess it'll require a lot of effort and teamwork to make that happen. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on how that might actually happen, how we would best achieve that.
Let's see what the town offers us first, I would say, and go from there, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this was just such a, a major accomplishment, this silver certification. I mean, I presented it this morning, just a slide I put up that Trumbull has sustainable silver designation. And there's only 4 towns in Fairfield County that got that. And the two close ones to us are Fairfield and us. And I think that's a big deal. And I don't think people still know about it. And we really need the executive staff to know that we have this certification, because it's a big deal, and it was a lot of work by you guys. And it just frustrates me that we're still kind of faced with crickets chirping when we should be getting.
Yeah, there was nobody else at that Connecticut Conference of Municipalities award ceremony for that. I don't think there's anybody else from Trumbull at all there. So there was a lot of representation from some other towns. There was,
Really?
of course, there were other awards to be received by other people too. So, but there was nobody from Trumbull but me.
Wow.
Yeah, just
Everybody's busy.
yeah. Where was that then? Where was?
It was all the way out in Foxwoods.
Oh yeah, that's a little bit of a hike.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have gone, but I was out of the country.
Yes.
But wasn't Vicky gonna write up a press release for us or something about our silver certification that we were then going to share online and put on our website? And
She was gonna have a statement, right? As part
yeah,
of
I
that
thought so, with the logo and everything else that we earned. And I thought either Rob or Mary was working on getting her to write that. So maybe we should just check in on that as well as having our meeting with her.
Yeah.
Well, didn't we end up writing it, Kevin? You and Mary and I?
Well, we
so that
did. I
could-
think we meaning you mostly, and
No.
and with a picture of whatever that picture was that we had that I got from or you. I know you found the picture too. Yeah, it was just kind of a boilerplate thing, right? It was I think you put in some good language in terms of a couple of sentences there, and the rest of it was kind of the standard stuff. But did that get published in anywhere?
The Trumbull Times, right? I think Mary was trying to send it to Trumbull Times. I never heard back about it, to be honest, and I forgot about it till just now.
Yeah, because Westport and Fairfield got the big, was it Westport, Fairfield, Stratford? I forget who got the big article in the Bridgeport, or in the Connecticut Post.
Not us.
Not us, even though we were one of the four.
So did Stratford get it too? Oh,
Yeah, Stratford got,
silver?
they got silver. They got, I think they might have got it last time or this time. They got both bronze and silver in the same period. They got them both, which was pretty impressive.
Oh, wow. Okay, because I
And then
didn't-
they're,
Yeah, because the slide I pulled up, it didn't see Stratford, so now I'm embarrassed that I didn't. Well, that's a pretty big deal.
yeah, they got a bunch of awards at that thing that I went to. So they had a lot going on. So
Oh, would you mind if I shared my screen again? I just found the slide
okay.
that I shared with Public Works.
Milford is silver as of 2021. Stratford was last
Yeah.
year. Bridgeport, Fairfield recertified. Westport is silver, so yeah.
Is Greenwich too? I forget. Was Greenwich?
Yeah, Greenwich and Westport.
Greenwich is silver. Mhm.
Yeah, Greenwich and Westport got it for the first time, and Fairfield re-upped their silver.
New Milford. I mean, there's quite a few silver towns now. It's nice.
Yeah. They're getting there.
Okay, so you see the slide? It's green. You see?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was at the end of the presentation. I went through 8 points from the natural resource inventory, 8 recommendations that we could work on. And so here's one, this is where I begin to mention sustainable CT. So climate change was a recommendation. There were things that can be done in the town, obviously. Bigger things that are beyond the scope of the natural resource inventory, but would mitigate the effects of climate change. And so, these are all the things that I said to them were on the sustainable Trumbull, 9 points that needed to be addressed for sustainable Trumbull. So this was just a listing that Jim, who did the natural resource inventory, put here. So energy efficiency, these are all the things that you guys are working on. Electric recharging stations, here we can using trees to shade and cool buildings, reducing trash, pay as you throw. And this is where, these were the specific things that I thought Parks and Rec, Public Works can partner with Conservation Commission and Sustainable Trumbull to, this is a reclaiming encroaching neighbor lawns. There were some specific locations, and Tatiana was very interested in this. These are places where people live next to our open spaces and they're dumping their stuff on open space property. So, that's something that we pointed out to them, and I think Public Works would then handle that. But another that we could work on together is stream bank restoration. In Old Mine Park, we have that riparian area. Specific recommendations in the inventory were doing the same thing in Indian Ledge, Mary Bill property, and Friar Lane. Another one we could work together is continue to educate visitors to Twin Brooks with signage and the benefits of native planting, reducing lawn mowing, reducing pesticide use, and vegetative buffers around ponds. And here's the one of the recommendations in there was for the Nichols Orchard, which is the Abraham Nichols property, where the community gardens are. And I think there's a lot of time in terms of labor and money is time of the Public Works guys who are trimming those trees, and they don't give apples. They're kind of one of these legacy things that was left in the maintenance plan for Abraham Nichols, that every year those trees should be pruned, and they're pruned in this way that they just kind of stay low and they hang over, and I don't think they're overly attractive. But that was a recommendation to save money and time by reducing the pruning, but consider expanding the community gardens, which I know we've talked about. As Westport. So again, we need a field trip to go see Westport. And then finally address large scale dumping and trash. These were very specific locations where the ecologists saw all kinds of dumping. So those are, volunteer opportunities for the Conservation Commission and Sustainable Trumbull to get a couple of volunteers together for that. And also meet the requirements in Parks and Rec and Public Works, because I'm sure they would, help us with that. Some other continued Sustainable Trumbull, Conservation Commission, Public Works projects, maintain trails and update markers, work with Public Works to make the old Tashua Tree Farm more appealing by putting in a parking lot, formalizing trails, and there's historic buildings there. Oops. Work with Rotary maybe to create trails and put benches on the river at Unity Park. And April, this is what you mentioned before, working together to look for grants to support all of the above efforts, like 319 grants, DEP open space grants, private grants, things like that. So my last slide to them are there 2 or 3 top projects from this inventory that we can work on together in 2022. So that's kind of where I left it. They had questions about, some of the pictures that I showed them. I had all the maps and stuff in here. But I really showed them, like, here's our TNAC property.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of the steep slope stuff that's occurring, this has to be controlled. So they saw some not so nice pictures of things that were done through negligence or purposely ignored. And so it wasn't really a, you know, be friends with conservation meeting. It was like, all right, we found all this stuff and it needs to be fixed because this is the second or third document that we've worked on that highlight some of these deficiencies. Then we went into land acquisitions, which is a different group, preserving open space. So this is the list in the inventory of, you know, this is just one park. All the trees, shrubs, vines, herbs, grasses, birds that were observed just in one park. So this is the kind of detail that's in the inventory that's been done, and we really should start using it. So there were 52 parks and town-owned open space properties that were surveyed in the inventory, and it focused on 3 areas: conservation values, threats to those areas, and strategies to help fix some of the problems.
And what was their reaction in terms of what are the top 2 or 3 priorities that we could work on? Did they say, oh, let's work on this, let's work on that?
Not at the meeting, but they were going to, because they're kind of setting their budget and their priorities for next year as well.
Yeah.
So this was the first time that they actually had this inventory in their hands, because I had 4 copies of it printed out and bound for them. So I left hard copies for them, and then I gave them the electronic version and this list of things. So the hope is that, you know, we can follow up in a couple of weeks with them. But, you know, that's why I think maybe if we as Sustainable CT can do a little presentation and they'll say, oh, look, our priorities are the same as yours. So we're, you know, we're kind of overlapping on these top 2 or 3 things that we can do for next year. So
that's good. That's good that you had that meeting and at least get it in their thought process.
Yeah. So this is
follow up with them.
This is where, you know, if we can figure out a way, or if there's a template to take all the work that your committee's done and put it into a sustainability plan, or get it into the plan of conservation and development. Maybe it doesn't even need to be its own separate sustainability plan. Maybe it can be inserted in this, because this hasn't been updated yet, the POCD. You know, because we have this, we've got the inventory, we've got this, which we're working on, which is pretty much done. So yeah, so this is what it looks like. Anyway, so I just wanted to share, because there were some specific things that I mentioned. I can share that PowerPoint with you if you want. It's just sometimes I just really like to show visual stuff, and I think there's so many cool things that Sustainable CT has done that can be portrayed in a, you know, visual way. All the plastic collecting that you've done, and all the, to show them all the work that's being done by volunteers. We're just asking for some cooperation. That's it. Some collaboration, yeah, we're all on the same team, working together to make Trumbull a sustainable town. So
they did mention at the meeting I went to that they're planning to come out with gold standard, I think next year. So there will be more opportunities.
I think they need to do something with that. I think there needs to be some kind of, and I'm maybe in the minority here, but why bother becoming a gold town when the amount of monies that you can get for grants is the same as if you're bronze? Like, why do the work? So it would be great if there was some sort of tiered reward. So you get 100% matching up to $10,000 if you're gold, up to $7,500 if you're silver. Like, there's got to be some sort of reason to go forth, other than the fact that we want to.
Yeah, because we have the interest in doing it ourselves, but yeah,
Right,
I'm not sure that
right.
the town is just sort of along for the ride at this point.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Maria?
Sorry.
I was gonna make a point, but I'm looking at the time. I don't want to hold up
Yep.
our agenda. I'm only available till a little after 4, so.
Okay,
At the
So-
end, if we have time, I'll share my thought.
okay, oh, we have plenty of time. So let's jump, let's make sure we cover everything that's on our agenda here. Anything on the EV charging station that's new, Mari?
No update. We were supposed to have a meeting last week and it got postponed till after the new year, so.
Okay. Meeting postponed. And how about anything on composting, transfer station or elsewhere? Is there anything new there?
Pam's gonna say something.
Pam's gonna say no.
I wrote to a company, and I will get you the name of that in 2 seconds. Bioenergy Devco. They do solutions for anaerobic digestion for municipalities.
Oh,
And I did a
Huh.
little bit of legwork. I mean, I've been kind of somewhat unavailable in the last few weeks just because of travel and other things. But the range of investment can be as little as $500,000 or as much as $5 million. It really depends on how much you want to do, how much space you have. So I did not hear back yet. I wrote to them last week when I came back from my trip. But if I don't hear back from them by like midweek, I'll call them just to say, I'm just trying to fact-finding mission. What does it cost to have something, an anaerobic digester put in for a municipality, et cetera.
So this is the anaerobic type facility rather than and that handles all of this, that handles everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, so this would be
Meat and
the
bones and stuff.
last meeting I was in with us, we talked about if Trumbull were to become its own, like if it had its own composting station that other municipalities could come into and pay, so that we could have our own in town. And we talked about Indian Ledge and how much space was up there. So anyway, I'm doing a little legwork on what it would mean for the town to invest in something like this, and then how much we could charge other municipalities to bring their stuff to us.
And I love the idea of doing it. I mean, composting just makes way too much sense. So
Well, I think we're going to find out that more and more towns are going to need to do it, not just in Connecticut, but elsewhere. And it's just going to become the thing. It's going to become commonplace. So why not lead instead of follow? You know, if we can get some sort of reward, and neighboring municipalities like Monroe and Easton could bring their stuff to us and we could charge them for it, why not? So anyway, just my vision for it. I don't know. I know that George said that a lot has to happen at the transfer station before we even consider composting there. So I'm not very optimistic, but.
yeah, I mean, it's still, what did it take? 2 parking spaces to have the composting
Yeah.
stuff at Darien and everywhere else. So it seems ridiculous that we can't do it, but I know there's changes over there. So maybe it's just a matter of making those changes happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
There's
Yeah,
a
to
lot
me,
of space there.
to me,
There's a
that's a
lot
top
of wasted
priority.
space. I mean, if you go into the transfer station, and I'm there between my husband's computers that he recycles, I go there all the time with cardboard and
Yeah.
everything else. That whole area that is on the east side of it, I think, where people dump their leaves, it's an
Yeah.
enormous amount of space for the dumping of leaves and brush. It's too
Yeah.
much. And so I think that even if we had a spot over there, it would make so much sense. But I'm not in charge of the facility.
Yeah, I don't know
There's
what's
much I
going
don't
on.
know.
We'll just when we have our next meeting with them, we'll bring it up. So thank you for the update on that.
real quick, I just have a quick question. I think there was an
Yep.
email about doing a tour at New Milford Farms. Was that a composting facility? I thought it came through to our sustainable email, but I can forward it to Pam after, or anyone.
I might
if
have
they
missed
were
it.
interested in
New
going.
Milford Farms, I think, is one of the places that
Yeah,
has
that's,
a facility.
I thought I saw an email today, but I will forward it to everyone if it is there, okay?
Mhm. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, Pam, for doing some legwork on that. I do agree that we are going to need something, Henry, that we are going to need something in the near future, especially since we're 3 towns that come together to one transfer station. It's just going to happen. It's just when, but sooner I always think is better than later.
Are there anything new on any of the recycling initiatives that we are, and there are many? Nothing terribly new there? Okay, we're
Nothing new.
continuing to have that monthly thing pretty much. And that's it. Okay.
It was interesting to me. I visited Maury Saturday at the recycling event.
Good.
And on one hand,
Somebody-
it's great. It's great that people bring so much stuff there. And I know that we want to be a one-stop shop for folks in the town. But it's fascinating to me, some of the things that people bring. And one lady, I'm not complaining. I'm just thinking about it out loud. One lady brought a broken toy. I was like, what do I do with this? And it's
What was it? What did you point out, Pam?
Broken
remember the
toy,
lady that
huh?
brought the broken plastic toy?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, but she meant well. I'm not criticizing it. She meant well, but why wouldn't, like, is there a way that we can enhance our educational, the educational aspect of our website where people would know? Or did she just not look? I don't know.
You're gonna
Well-
always have that. You always will have people who have no idea and they just hear about this and they show up.
I mean, I'll take the
Yeah.
broken toy because if it was Hasbro, we could have recycled it through TerraCycle.
Right. It was
And that
not.
is so much better than the toilet bowl cleaner brush that we got once.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right.
Enough.
You know, I don't want to use the time during this meeting as like a planning on recycling drive. The few of us that work on it, we can talk about obviously, but I'd like to narrow the scope of what we collect. I mean, I tell everybody that comes, I'm like, just save your toothbrush and your toothpaste tubes. Like we collect that. I'm still educating my own family. Like there's things that if we can take all brands, I think we're going to have more luck than people are like, wait, which brands? Even the girls that we're helping sort, we're like, is this something we collect? I forget. I get big dog food bags that are not the correct brand. So I think April, with you and Renata and I maybe can look at updating our list, fine tuning it and working throughout the next year of really getting the message out of what we collect and really beef it up a little bit. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Student initiatives, anything new going on with TSY or the environmental club or any of the other student initiatives?
Not to overlap schools, but the environmental club at the high school is starting the Trex plastic collection and the big collection that's still moving forward. A couple of the students working on the legislative outreach are reaching out to the Citizens Campaign for the Environment and Clean Water Action, and they're getting guidance for the upcoming session in February. They're trying to maybe schedule a meeting with some of the state representatives, but
Nice.
that's all I have for right now.
And then if we're piggybacking into the school system, I've kind of been on hold since the Board of Ed got reelected. So we got all new members and they are going starting, I think tomorrow night into their budget session. So I'm going to hope to at least get a date on the calendar to meet with them and the super again, just to kind of get everybody on the same page and see if our, I guess, ideas or sustainable ideas match with theirs. And then we'll get some more backing from some people to move some things forward. So I'm definitely hoping to do a waste reduction pilot at Hillcrest in the spring, but I'm gonna need some, we're gonna need some support on that.
Support from the.
I have
Board
support
of
from
Ed.
the principal. It's support from the Mississippi, yeah, from the other people at Long Hill within the Board of Ed. So
Okay.
if I had the Board of Ed behind me, they kind of could push other people in the right direction.
So what's that you're saying at Hillcrest? You're looking to push the recycling,
waste-
you're saying? Waste
A
reduction? you said?
waste reduction, yeah. So it would be, even if we did it on the most minimalist basis, because we can't compost yet, because we don't have a composter in town. And we can't expect the schools individually to pay to compost weekly. That we could at least reduce the fluid amounts of fluids that are getting thrown out, because if you're paying by weight, the fluids matter. And then we could possibly then get the recycling of those bottles handled correctly. And then everything else kind of just separate. It's kind of like a redoing of the recycling program at the school.
Yeah.
And seeing if we could get a big move on that. And then see if it ultimately saves some money. I mean, if we had composting in there too, that would be great. Because that would take out a whole chunk, but not yet.
Yeah.
Soon.
I mean, it would be great to be able to work that into the curriculum somehow where they get credit for doing it and then they would actually do it. You know, but not so easy. So you were saying get the fluids and then like the redeemables?
Yeah.
April, what about the carton collection? Do you want me to refresh on that and give you info if they could separate and collect those, or no, too many things? Like their milk cartons, they give out cartons at school. They should not throw those out.
So they give them out. You have to take them on the elementary level. You do not have to take them on the middle school level. But with the food waste reduction program, sorry, Mari, you just pivoted me another direction, is that we also were talking about a food recovery program. And that could be where kids have the milk, they don't want the milk, they have the prepackaged veggies, they don't want them. I think us to have a fridge, we could put it in the fridge and we hook up with this service and they come and literally pick it up from the school and get it to a place that could use it for free.
Nice.
So instead of throwing that extra stuff that would just go in the garbage because kids doesn't want it but has to take it, it goes somewhere with people who need it and want it. Win-win. If you ask me, it's a win-win. Sacred Heart just signed up. Fairfield U's on the list. And other schools like in the district are on it, but that was the couple big hitters that I remember from the main.
And they just have like a refrigerator, I'm assuming, where they put the stuff and then at the end of the day, they say, off it goes.
Well, certain days, depending on how much they need, if it's a once a week pickup, twice a week pickup, every day pickup.
Yeah.
And all volunteers run this program.
I want to get back to, it's almost 4, so let's, I just want to get back to Janet has money, she wants to help with something, and we're trying to find, we're scrambling around trying to figure out what initiative we want to do. We're talking about the community garden, we're talking about founders plots. It's just a matter of getting enough people to do what needs to be done for whatever it is, if it's that or something else. So yes, April.
Kevin, is the Nature Center, is that a 501(c)(3)?
Yes, it is 501(c)(3). We are now. It really. I mean, we need an accountant because our treasurer's leaving, and we have a brand new assistant treasurer who's becoming treasurer. So we can't like add more confusion to their lives. But if we can get an accounting, someone to assist us with accounting, then that would be great. Then we could say, yep, it's something that the Nature Center could be in, but it could be an actual Nature Center. It could be involved at the Nature Center. You know, it could be the Nature Center could actually be involved in it. Then it makes sense. Otherwise, the Nature Center is just like, again, human resources at the town level, same thing at the Nature Center. We don't have enough people to get all the things done that need to get done. Certainly that's the case with financial stuff. Accounting and financial stuff is just like that right now.
Hey, Kevin, as we're redoing the pollinator garden there and the meadow, is it possible that if we can't get the founders plots at the community garden, we can use TNAC as kind of I mean, it's not as much room, but could we use part of it?
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Again, the issue is who's going to do it, right? We can say, well, we can get the money to raise for building whatever it is we're going to build. And then who's going to maintain it? Because if it's just going to sit there and we don't have somebody to maintain it, then it's a waste of everybody's time and effort. So we need to find somebody. And that's why that visit to Westport or Fairfield or anybody who's got some kind of program going like this is important. So we can figure out how and if we can actually do something like that where we have enough volunteers and what have you from the town to maintain something like that. You gotta build it and then you have to maintain it, so.
Yep.
So that gets us back to that whole question. Mel, were you gonna, Mel, who was trying to reach out to
Westport?
Westport? Was anybody specifically?
Yeah, so so I was. So the guy who is running the thing could get on I mean, it would be if it would be helpful, he could get on a Zoom with us and explain,
Yeah,
know,
maybe that's good.
how I mean, he's been running it for 17 years. And he's full of energy, this guy. So
Is that Westport's guy?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so his name is Louis Weinberg. So I don't know if we want to have a special Zoom meeting and have him talk to us about it, or if we could. I mean, the weather could be turning at any minute, so I was going to say we could go there, but yeah, we could make. What do you want me to set up a Zoom with him? Because he would get on a Zoom.
I think so. I think it'd be great. Anybody who's interested in that project could join the Zoom, and we could give him whatever time. I think it requires, I don't think we could do it in one of our monthly meetings. We have enough going on. So that'd be great if we could do it.
What about having Dimitri join that? You think he'd be interested in joining? Would he make time for it?
We could ask him, and he might be especially
Thank you.
interested only because this community garden runs pretty much without their public works involvement at all.
Wow.
It's
That's amazing.
remarkable because right now Louis and I are trying to work on a outside of the garden there, putting some native trees in where he has to work with public works, and it's just he's having a nightmare of a time with Westport Public Works, even though he's got this world-class community garden right in the middle of it. But I think it runs so beautifully, this community garden, because it is run by volunteers who are totally committed to it. And like somebody like him who's been doing it for 17 years. So yeah, so I could ask him. He's a teacher. He teaches in the Westport schools, I think, or Norwalk. So it might have to be like a 4:00 meeting or something like that. Do you want me to just get a couple of dates from him and reach out to you guys?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this is kind of a good time for people, mostly Mondays afternoons to 3:00. Well, not after, nothing later than this, because people are running off right at 4:00 and people need to go. But maybe
3 p.m. on a Monday.
if possible, that sounds right. That sounds good, right?
Yeah. Okay. So
Hello, Kitty.
we could set up. Yeah, this is Watson. Watson cannot figure out who I am talking to. He thinks I'm talking to him.
Hi, Watson.
Very handsome. He's my boyfriend.
All right.
So yeah, I could reach out to Louis and see what. Yeah, he might be able to stay in his classroom and do a Zoom if we get a hookup for him.
That sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
We'll do.
Any other, Mari, did you want to add whatever you were talking about before?
Sure, kind of along those lines, but I happened to notice on social media today that Fairfield put up nice pictures of all of their subcommittees, which, obviously we got through everything in an hour here, but I'm wondering if it might help us to gain additional volunteers if we kind of listed maybe a few subcommittees. Obviously, we all do quite a bit and overlap a lot, but if we had our, renewable energy committee, our recycling committee, our land conservation committee, and let's say our composting committee, and we had 4 offerings that people might be more apt to step up for just one of those tasks or subcommittees. And then our main meeting would be where each of our subcommittees kind of reports back what we're all working on. Not that we can't have discussions or anything, or this was too long by any means, but just to kind of regroup ourselves and see if we can't get a few extra helpers. Because I actually did get interest from someone at the recycling drive and helping with that. And she was also interested in participating with pollinator pathway stuff. So I always say, like, that's not my particular area of expertise in the group. So she's hopefully going to reach out to us via email.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, I was really kind of semi-envious in a way of that
Yeah,
social media
me too.
post. They have so many people helping.
Right.
And honestly, I was thinking today about next year's Earth Week. And I don't know that because I'm starting school in January, I don't know how much bandwidth I'm going to have to organize a whole Earth Week.
Right.
And we've done a lot, just us, right? But
Yeah.
we do need more hands on deck. We need new, fresh blood.
And maybe a subcommittee could organize one event and that would be it. And it would relieve UPM of having to kind of orchestrate the whole week of events. Because while their list of accomplishments is very vast in Fairfield, we've done a lot of that. You know, we've done outreach to legislators, we've done events, we've done a lot. And I think if you look at those pictures, it's a lot of the same faces overlapping too. So it's not that we're far off. We just need to fill in those gaps. So maybe we can put a list of the subcommittees together. Each person could put their name on and we can kind of bring that to Vicky to see which groups would contact who, that sort of thing, and see if we can't get extra helpers for each of those.
So what are you
Yes.
thinking in terms of the subcommittees?
Oh, I don't know. I threw those out at the top of my head. Could I repeat it? Let's
Recycling
see.
maybe is one.
Yeah, renewable energy, land conservation and composting. I mean,
Unless composting is more under waste reduction.
Yeah, that's sure. We could call it waste reduction. Waste reduction would be composting and recycling.
Recycling,
Right.
and then land conservation would be pollinator pathway and
Right.
tree restoration,
Right.
making that up.
Is there
I just feel
any
like with
way-
waste reduction, it spills over to the schools, reducing trays. I don't know. I think it's kind of big as a subcommittee personally, but we could try it. I like separating the,
Yeah, well, maybe you would have, it might end up being, you break it out into two, recycling and composting. I don't know.
we'll say though, we could keep it for now. They kind of overlap.
Yep, definitely. All right, so we're saying renewable energy, land conservation, waste reduction are the three, and then you break pieces down of each of those.
Sure.
Recycling, composting, and so forth. Trees.
And we
Okay.
can kind of put a hiring post up on social media for each of our 3 subcommittees. You never know.
That's good. I might be able to find, just thinking about people who I know who might be interested in some of this stuff. So that might be a good way to bring them in.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you come into a meeting like this and we're all over the place talking about everything. So it's
Right.
nice to be able to focus for a while. Yeah. And I don't know what the community garden, if that fits under, where does that fit exactly? That's more like, is that land conservation? Not really. It's more, I don't know. It's more of community gardens. I don't know where it fits under. What do you think?
Land stewardship.
Oh,
The
yeah,
land stewardship,
that's a good.
there you go.
I like that. That's-
land conservation and stewardship.
That's good. Excellent.
Okay.
Okay, very good. So,
To run.
anything else anybody wants? Community garden.
Next
Um,
January.
Yes, our next meeting would be on 10th. January 10th is our next meeting scheduled. All right, thank you, everybody. I think we're done. Anybody else want to add anything? I don't want to cut anybody off. Is that it?
That's it.
All right.
Thanks for
Thank
joining,
you,
Janet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody. have a
Thanks,
good
everybody.
Christmas.
Thanks again, Bill.
Yep. Thank you, Bill.
Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Have a good holiday if I don't
Yeah.
see you and talk to you.
Hey, everybody.
All right, thanks.